All right, two things. Yes, I'm going blind, unfortunately, and watching this movie in IMAX did not help at all. And also, this does look like the Dune shirt, doesn't it? With the whole circle thing, but it's not. All right, so let's talk about Dune. Alright, so Dune is the reboot, the retelling, the remake, whatever. It's new, okay? That's the whole point. It's based on the novels, which no, I have not read. I went into this cold because I really want to know what the hype, all the hype that this was about. I mean, it obviously has a huge following. And I was like, okay, you know what? Let me watch it. I want to see what this is all about. Let me not even watch the original, even though I tried, but my eyes were just very bad. I'm gonna end up needing glasses, and I end up almost knocking out. And yeah, that's one of the, obviously it's one of the signs of when you need glasses, when you're falling asleep watching TV, the computer screen, or reading. Yeah, I didn't even make it past the first hour. But that doesn't matter. I went to see this anyway because I really wanted to know. And yes, it's visually amazing. You have to see it in IMAX. I know this is coming out on HBO Max this Friday, but if you have the time, if you have the money, help, go watch it in IMAX because this movie looks amazing. It does a very good job in putting you in this world, in this planet, and all these different worlds, all these different visuals that the movie does. It, you feel like you're there. It looks astonishing. I'm telling you, go watch it in IMAX. Support theaters also while you're at it because theaters need our support. Now, in terms of the story, the movie tells about a group of people called House Atreides. They're these people that were appointed by some emperor to govern this planet called Arrakis, aka Dune. Dune is the source of this spice, and this spice is like crack, man. Like, this thing is going around and people are trying to make money off of it. They know how profitable it is. Everyone wants this spice. Everyone's trying to sniff this thing so they can hallucinate. Well, not really, but the whole point is that people want this thing. And we all find out that this is all part of a master plan in order to take over, in order to get rid of House Atreides, and it's part of a big mastermind plan. And that's where we see the theme of betrayal, of disloyalty, of mistrust, which I really liked how the movie did with that because I've always liked it when there's tension, when there's betrayal. And it also even plays part in the theme of cultural identity and even that loss of identity because people feel like their identity is being taken away from them whenever they believe that another group of people is coming in and they're taking over the world, they're taking over the city, their country, or whatever. And I feel like that's how these people, the blue-eyed color people, feel. But I wish I could have had a little bit more tension of that in the movie because they are a group of people that essentially pretty much they're getting colonized and didn't really quite get a lot of tension between that. I wish I could have gone more. And speaking of that, just from the hour that I saw of the original film, I've noticed that this cast is all white back the film in the 80s, but then this film, this new one, it adds variety to it. But all of the people of House Atreides, when the people that are doing the colonizing, the dominant people, they're all white, and then the other people are either black or brown or just obviously just not white. And it's always something that it might bother some people if you're one of those that notice those things. It might be something that bothers you. It's not something that I downgrade the movie of. I'm just saying something that I noticed and it's like, you know, it's some BS, but you know, I just let it slide. There are other important things to worry about. And I think a big part of why I'm even mentioning that is because I just had an English class and I had to analyze the theme of why America was having just white folks in a lot of propaganda in the 50s when it came to America's fear of being bombarded, of being nuked, and all these propagandas of how people should build a shelter and just how to stay safe. There was a big dilemma going on that there was only white people on these propaganda posters indicating that they were the only ones that are gonna survive eventually, that everyone else, whether you're black or you're brown, yeah, you're not even in the picture. So that's something that I thought of because recently I did have to do a lot of analyzing. I even had to analyze Invasion of the Body Snatchers because of those themes. So that's something that I noticed here, but I don't think it's gonna be a huge problem. We're all here for the sci-fi, we're all here for the action, but there's not a lot of action in this because this movie is a slow burn. It's taking its time. Is it a bad thing? Yes, and then a no. I only say yes because if you're a casual viewer, if you're more of a casual moviegoer where you just want to get things straight to the point, you know, you're not really too technical about things. You don't really look into the deeper meaning of things, of looking for themes or anything like that. You probably will be bored of them because this movie takes its time. It is not rushing because let's remember, it is an adaptation of a book, of some novels, and it's going somewhat of a route, I guess. It is going the route of Lord of the Rings where it's doing movies on the book and it wants to fit everything as much as it can. I never read Lord of the Rings. I'm not like the hardcore fan, but I did find it enjoyable even though some of the terminology was just I wasn't familiar with. I didn't take the time to look things up, but I found myself enjoyed because I can make out what's going on without really having to research things up. It gave me good action. It gave me characters that I actually like. And I was expecting that with Dune, but I didn't really quite get that as much as I did with Lord of the Rings. I'm not really comparing. I'm just using it as a reference of why I didn't really find myself enjoying this film as much as I hoped I would have been, because the characters, there were just some people that I really didn't care about. I didn't walk out of the movie thinking, yeah, you know what, this guy was really cool. I really liked him. I want to see more of that. The only person I even thought of that was just Jason Momoa, because Jason Momoa is Aquaman in the sand, in the desert. That's pretty much, he's doing, you know, his Aquaman things. And, you know, he's like that cool pilot who's always patting you on the back saying, and, you know, you want to see more of him. But other than that, you don't really see anyone else. And this movie is a stacked cast. I mean, this movie has great people casted, but there's not a lot of screen time with all of them. I mean, the movie's really focused on Paul Atreides, the actor that plays him, Timothy something, I forgot his name. And you know, there were some moments where I was like, okay, it's getting too repetitive, how he's just whining, complaining, having all these dreams. And then there were some moments I was like, hey, you know what, go Paul. I was actually rooting for him. I was actually looking at him and I was like, yeah, I want him to do more heroic things because he's someone who is said to be a savior, the Messiah, but he just doesn't know it yet. It's probably something that he's going to discover later on in part 2, because it seems like we're getting a part 2. The opening titles just say part 1. But again, I didn't find myself liking the character too much, even though I really want to. I want to like this whole franchise because I know that for a fact I can go into a franchise cold, not knowing much about it, and even if there's a huge following already and if it's being an adaptation of books, much like Lord of the Rings, again, I'm making that reference. I'm using that as another example because I know that I was able to enjoy that without knowing nothing, because it gave me some cool characters. It gave me some good action. It gave me a lot of visuals, really good, but it gave me some characters that I remember, that I like. If you ask me, I'm like, yeah, you know, I remember Frodo. I remember Sam. I remember the OG Gandalf. I remember the crackhead Smeagol. Who doesn't know Smeagol? Whenever you hear that voice saying, my precious, we know it's Smeagol. But in this one, I didn't feel like I got that. I didn't walk out thinking, yeah, you know, I remember these people. Just to wrap it up, I'm not saying that it's a bad movie. I'm not saying that it's terribly made. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying if you are more of a casual viewer, you probably won't enjoy this movie. There's a really high chance that you won't enjoy this movie. But if you're a fan, I think you are going to love it. I think this movie did a lot of fan service. I think this movie is going to appeal, is going to make fans really happy because, again, I haven't read the books, but it just looks like, for a movie that is taken from a book, I feel like it did really well. Usually movies don't. It's rare for when movies get everything from the book because it's so hard to cram everything in there. But it looks like it did a good job, more than expected. Also, I hear a lot of people making those references with Star Wars, and they're saying that Dune is Star Wars but for adults. And it's a pretty dumb thing to say in my opinion, because I feel like you can be a mature adult and enjoy more casual things, or more, I don't want to say childish things, but things that are not as serious. I think that's a better way to put it, because this thing, Dune, is more serious, has more of a serious tone. You might find it more complex if you're just used to simpler things. I'm not saying this movie is hard to understand. I'm just saying that if you're not a fan, it probably will be. But there are some people that they're able to keep up with it. You are able, me personally, I was able to keep up with it even though I had no idea what I was getting into. But saying that it's Star Wars for adults, it's, I don't know, I just don't, I just wouldn't use those references or those terms. I will say that it is less popular only because Star Wars and Lord of the Rings definitely have gotten more of the mainstream area. And I know I got Star Wars posters behind me, but I just have posters. I just like to hang posters of things that I somewhat or really enjoy. I'm not saying I'm like the hardcore Star Wars fan. I'm not that at all, okay? This one was a hard one to rate because I was debating whether to give it my movie night rating or my VOD, and those two are right in the smack dab middle. I almost even wanted to make up a whole new tier ranking just for that. But just for the fact that I didn't have any characters that I found myself appealed to, not that much action, not saying that's what makes a movie. I don't need it to be filled with action, but it's gonna be one of those movies that I'm gonna rewatch because I really want to marinate the whole thing. I want to let it sink in. I need to really analyze it in order to get the whole concept. I mean, I do understand the concept. I just want to dissect the thing a bit more in order for me to maybe have a different view, go into part 2 with a different perspective. But for now, I will say that whether you're a fan or whether you're new coming into this cold, I think it should be given the benefit of the doubt and given a chance. So that's why I will say that it is worth having a movie night, especially on IMAX. Don't watch on HBO Max. All right, so if you've seen it or if you're gonna see it, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below if you're gonna see it on HBO Max. If you're planning on it, I will just definitely recommend you to go watch it in IMAX. I mean, this movie is made for IMAX, I'm telling you. And at the same time, you get to support theaters. Also, on a side note, don't forget to check out my Halloween trivia video where I grabbed some random strangers during the opening weekend of Halloween Kills and I put their movie trivia to the test. It was a lot of fun, so please go ahead and check that out on the channel. So if you got the time and the money, then I would say go ahead and get your butt to the movie theaters. And don't forget to like this video, smash the subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching. Continue watching the channel and continue watching movies.